What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Shrimp Scene. In this video I'm going to talk about a few of the different methods that you can use to provide extra calcium in your shrimp tank to ensure that they're molting properly and live a long, happy life. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Cuttlebone. You can see a few broken up pieces in the bottom of this tank here. This is a very good, cheap method of providing extra calcium to your shrimp. It's very easy to get and to buy in bulk online, and you can find it at almost any pet store. Now, I do recommend washing or rinsing before putting it in the tank because Cuttlebone does have a fair amount of salt in them because they come from the cuttlefish, which lives in salt water. Now, you can boil them before using them to be extra safe, but just remember you're removing some of that calcium that you're trying to add for the shrimp. Now, I'll usually break the Cuttlebone into some smaller pieces so it's not as noticeable once it's added. You can also just bury the whole Cuttlebone under the gravel and it'll kind of slowly release the calcium over time, although the shrimp and snails can't get to it if it's buried deep under the gravel. One thing I don't really like about the Cuttlebone though is the fact that it never dissolves completely and kind of becomes an eyesore over time. But overall, it's a very easy and cheap way of supplementing extra calcium to your shrimp. The next one I'm going to talk about is eggshells. Another great, natural, cheap calcium source for your shrimp. Now, you can rinse them and put them in the tank whole like you see here, or you can crush them into a really fine powder. Now, if you're putting them in the tank whole, you can actually leave the protein skin on. This is a great protein source for the shrimp. Now, if you're crushing the shells, I actually recommend using a little pestle and mortar like this. Shout out to Lucas at LRB Aquatics for this idea. I got mine for like $7 or $8 on Amazon. But this is by far the easiest way of crushing the eggshells into the really fine powder. But if I'm putting them in whole, I'll usually leave the half shell in the tank for a couple of months and then change it out with a new one. And if I'm using the crushed eggshells, I'll add a couple days after every water change. But overall, I can see it being a little bit of an eyesore, but it's also probably the easiest way of giving your shrimp a little extra calcium. The last method I'm going to talk about is using human-grade calcium pills. Now, the calcium pills you need are the ones without vitamin D or vitamin E. It can't have either of those, just regular old calcium pills. Now, these are fairly cheap and can be bought at pretty much any Walgreens, Walmart, or drugstore. And one of the huge benefits that I find of using these is that you get more of an exact dosage, and you can figure out exactly how much you're putting in the tank each time. Now, I recommend crushing this into a fine powder, just like the eggshells, using one of these. And I'll usually add this a couple of days after a water change, or at least once a month, and I'll use about 0.1 to 0.2 grams per 10 gallons or so. That way it doesn't affect my water chemistry or swing my pH or anything. But once you do add the powder to the tank, it will completely dissolve after about 4 to 6 hours. So you can see here that the shrimp will actually come out and graze on the calcium when you put it in the tank. See, I'm kind of kicking it up there. But this is definitely one of my favorite ways of adding calcium to the tank, and it just ensures that the shrimp are molting properly and they have the amount of calcium that they need. gonna do it for this one, guys. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like this video, and remember to subscribe if you want to see more and follow along with what I'm doing down here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.